The next speaker is Michael Birnbaum. He's an attending physician at the Department of Psychiatry at the Zucker Hillside Hospital here in New York. And he works as the program director for Northwell Health Early Treatments Program, the ETP, a clinical program and a research initiative to identify adolescents and young adults with emerging psychosis. He received his Doctor of Medicine from McGill University in Montreal and Quebec, went on to complete his child and adolescent psychiatry and fellowship in the Department of Psychiatry at Mount Sinai West. Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. So, Dr. Birnbaum, his research focuses on the role of social media and the internet pathways of care for adolescents, and I think that's a very innovative way of trying to engage these patients and subjects and people at risk. So, Dr. Birnbaum, where are you? Oh, there you are. Yeah, please join. Thank you very much.
Someone may have to teach me how to get to the next. Oh, there we go. Thanks so much. It's very exciting to be here and to be able to talk a little bit about some of our work exploring digital strategies to advance help seeking in youth with emerging psychosis. No? Forward, back. Space. Oh, you want to do that? Technical difficulties. No. Should we try? Take control of me. Task manager. It's not good. It's not. Go to task manager. Observation. Okay. Seems foolish. Okay. We are back online. Thank you very much. Right. There we go. Sorry about that. Over the past 2 decades or so, the internet has dramatically transformed the way that we communicate and share and learn. And this is true about all of us, but this is especially true for young people who are by far the highest utilizers of the internet and social media, and also happen to be at the greatest risk for the emergence of a psychotic disorder. According to national and international surveys, about 100% of adolescents and young adults are online, are using it regularly. And in the US, about 50% of teenagers report nearly being constantly connected to the internet. So that is incredibly scary, but also incredibly powerful. Just under 90% of US adolescents and young adults say that they go online to obtain their health-related information. This includes accessing mobile apps related to health. It also includes watching someone else's story online or looking for other people with similar conditions or concerns. This is really where social media comes in. And in fact, we have some preliminary data coming from our own psychiatric emergency room where we polled adolescents prior to coming into the emergency room. They say that they get their mental health information from TikTok. 65% of them did, including individuals with early psychosis. So once again, incredibly terrifying, but also an important opportunity for researchers like me. A minority, 20%, say that they go online to connect with a healthcare provider. This is the universe where this research lives, because I'm convinced that we can do a much better job at leveraging these technologies to bring 20% much higher. From a mental health perspective, we know that the internet has become a primary resource for youth wishing to seek mental health information online. And this is especially true for stigmatized illnesses like schizophrenia or stigmatized symptoms like auditory hallucinations, because the internet provides a comfortable and anonymous setting to gather information while symptoms are emerging. Our own data from an NIMH-funded trial several years ago found that the internet represented the first proactive step towards help seeking in youth with emerging psychosis and with first episode psychosis. They went online before talking to friends, family, peers, and providers. And we also know that information gathered online can impact one's decision to advance in the help seeking process. And so once again, we believe that there are important opportunities to improve the way that we identify and engage and refer individuals online using the internet and social media. One of the most effective strategies to identify and engage people online is through digital media. Funded by One Mind and also by NIMH, we built one of the first digital media campaigns designed to reduce the duration of untreated psychosis in New York State. Now, the initial conceptualization was geared towards first episode psychosis, but as I'll demonstrate in a moment, we were more successful at identifying and engaging individuals at risk for developing psychosis, which is the reason that I'm here today. It was run by myself and Chantal Garrett, who's the founder of Strong 365, an online resource hub dedicated to early psychosis. And we collaborated with On Track New York, a network of first episode psychosis programs in New York State. The goal of the campaign was to get people from their cell phones, from the internet, to the doctor's office along this trajectory to care. And specifically, the way that we did this was by purchasing search terms. That's where we started. And anybody who would go online and search using that search term or a similar term would be delivered an advertisement, which looked something like that. Advertisements are made up of headlines, a call to action, and a description. And there is a science to developing effective advertisements that result in clicks. Once it was clicked, people were brought to our landing page. We also purchased ads on socials. These ads were demographically targeted, and we could be a little bit more creative here in the sense that we can use images and videos. Once clicked, people were brought to our landing page. This was designed in collaboration with the Lived Experience Advisory Panel. And the goal of the landing page was to engage people, provide them education, and connect them to staff from the project who could engage them. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. We also provided inspiring personal narratives. We encouraged everybody to take a mental health check-in quiz. We thought a lot about the right approach for what quiz to use. We decided to adapt items from the PQB psychosis screener, and we also included items from a depression screener and an anxiety screener in order to cast a wide net. And we encouraged everybody to text or chat or call a peer advocate. They can also schedule for a future time or a licensed clinician or in order to do a needs assessment. We were available on desktop and mobile. And again, everything was designed to funnel folks who came into the campaign to our clinicians who can do a needs assessment, find out who these folks are, how we can help them, and refer them expeditiously to local care. We had two campaigns running in parallel. One was dedicated for youth specifically, the other for their concerned allies. And we launched the campaign in New York State in a stepped fashion, so that we started with one region of New York State and then expanded to another. And then by month 12 for the following 6 months, we were available in the entire state of New York. We learned a lot, and I'm going to focus on some of the highlights. Essentially, consistent with literature, most of the individuals who came into our campaign were predominantly interested in information alone. A minority, 12%, were interested in a referral to care, and this was clearly demonstrated in their behavior. Interestingly, though, when we look at responses to these questions compared, broken down by items selected in our screener, we found that individuals who selected items from the psychosis screener were significantly less likely to report an interest in a referral to care. They were also, for what it's worth, significantly less likely to leave contact information. Parents, on the other hand, were much more likely to be interested in a referral to care, and this was also demonstrated in their behavior. Once we got, parents actually were harder to engage, but once we were able to engage them, they made it all the way through the funnel, whereas kids were much more likely to keep engaged. Here's how we did for the entire 18 months. In total, our ads were shown just over 2 million times. That's the number of impressions, the number of times our ads are shown and could be clicked on. The ads were more successful on, or I should say they were shown more frequently on social media. They were shown less frequently on Google, but a Google ad was more likely to result in a click. And that's owing to the fact that it is providing a very specific and tailored intervention at the very moment that someone is engaging in help seeking. They're looking for information online, and we deliver them a tailored ad, which they then click on. In total, just over 34,000 unique individuals came to our landing page, visited our website. And of those individuals, just over 11,000 individuals completed our online mental health check-in quiz. This was an extremely popular item amongst youth. 53% of the individuals who came in through the youth campaign completed a screener. They seem to be very interested in taking an online screen. Concerned allies, however, were much less likely or much less interested in completing a mental health screener related to their loved one. And in total, we received just over 2,000 active inquiries. So this represents to us a more proactive step towards care beyond simply information gathering. These are the individuals who either left contact information or reached out to us directly via text, email, phone, or a chatbot. Then something interesting happened with the individuals who left contact information. There was a dance that went on between us and them for about 10 days or 2 weeks, where we would try to engage them. We'd send a text, they would respond a day later, we'd have a brief conversation. And for some of those individuals, we were able to encourage them to obtain an assessment, again, where we would find out who they were, what they wanted, and how we can help. And in total, we had 364 unique individuals obtain an assessment, and of those individuals, we were able to refer 281 individuals to care. Now, keep in mind, this is the entire data set, not just individuals with psychosis, and we were only equipped to determine what happens to those referrals for individuals with early psychosis. Now, when we look at the psychosis funnel, about 15% of the individuals that we assessed reported symptoms consistent with psychosis. So I think that's pretty interesting. 15% of the individuals assessed were reporting psychotic symptoms. And just about half of those individuals were reporting symptoms that were consistent with clinical high risk. And many of those individuals were referred to Cheryl's program at Mount Sinai and also the RAP program at Northwell. And the majority of those individuals ended up in care. However, a big barrier to advancing at this stage was a refusal or inability to involve parents. We engaged young folks with early psychosis, or emerging psychosis, I should say, and that was a very sad lesson that we learned, that disclosing symptoms to caregivers was one of the main reasons why people chose not to advance at this stage. And then we also identified some folks with first episode psychosis. Unfortunately, none of those individuals made it into on-track meal. So some lessons learned, taking a step back. We engaged teens, younger teens than we had anticipated, and also teenagers at an earlier stage in help seeking than we had anticipated. We also clearly identified that youth present at very different stages of help seeking along the continuum. So some people would enter the website and disappear. Other folks would complete a quiz and bounce, and some folks would move on to text or to assessment and disappear at that stage. But interestingly, we learned that some strategic efforts on our part can impact the decision to advance along the trajectory to care. So for example, one of the things that we learned was that in the individuals that we ended up assessing and referring, our response time was significantly shorter, suggesting that there's a critical window of opportunity when motivation is high that we could capture and engage these folks in these special moments. We also learned that persistent outreach was an important feature when it comes to moving forward with advancement, with assessment and referral. On average, we reached out 6 times before we finally convinced somebody to proceed with an assessment and move on to a referral. And then we played around with a variety of strategic efforts. We weren't equipped to systematically assess these. However, some of the things that we tried, for example, was something as simple as a follow-up form, a post-assessment follow-up form, where we asked individuals once again if they had any specific questions for us or if we can answer any of their questions, increase the proportion of youth who left contact information by 25%. Again, a more proactive step towards help seeking. Some of the other things that we explored was manipulating the content, timing, frequency, and modality of outreach, the layout and content of educational materials. And this has really been the motivation for ongoing work in this area and also future work that was recently submitted to NIMH. It was scored and we are now resubmitting in July. But the goal of this work is to develop a digital laboratory that's designed to advance help seeking and expedite treatment initiation in youth with emerging psychosis. We're going to be collaborating here with Mental Health America, which is a nonprofit education advocacy organization. But one of the things that they've implemented over the past few years is a screening platform. And they have been screening hundreds of thousands of youth on an annual basis, including for psychosis risk using the PQB. But since we know that screening alone is not sufficient to advance help seeking, and also it's not diagnostic, we're going to be incorporating Strong 365, specifically opportunities to engage with us over text and video. And in this scenario, we are going to be assessing individuals who score positive on the PQB in advance with the mini SIPs. And then our goal is to refer those individuals to clinical high-risk programs, 17 clinical high-risk programs within the US. And we'll be using theories of behavioral change as our conceptual model. So our first aim is to identify and characterize help seeking in 25,000 youth who score above threshold on the PQB. Who are these individuals and what are the behavioral, clinical, and demographic and linguistic differences between these individuals? And we will use this information to develop tailored help-seeking advancement strategies to encourage these folks to continue along the help-seeking trajectory. Next, using the large data set, we're aiming to identify the most accurate threshold to effectively identify individuals with CHR online in order to allocate resources. And lastly, probably the most exciting aim in my opinion, is to iteratively develop and test and select advancement strategies in 25,000 youth who score above threshold on the PQB. So our goal here is to develop advancement strategies that are designed to continue to encourage youth to continue along the help-seeking process at critical moments when they might otherwise disengage, specifically after completing a PQB, after initiating a text with peer navigator, and after completing an assessment with a clinician online. We'll start by developing a cohort, a group of strategies, and then as the trial goes on, we will iteratively identify which strategies are most effective and build new strategies to test against the older strategies in order to improve the process and help young folks who score positively on the PQB move it all the way from the internet to AMP schizophrenia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birnbaum. That's a very inspiring study you're doing and have been doing. Very innovative. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, Scott.
Thank you very much. A question and a follow-up. So, it's it really stands out that the people who are high risk are less likely to say they're seeking are less likely to go to do you have information from them about why that is?
We were able to speak with a few of them and do some qualitative assessments. Unfortunately, the majority, or at least in the folks that we spoke with, they were worried about their reaction that their parents might, the reaction of their parents essentially. That was the primary motivating factor for not wanting to disclose. Unfortunately,
that's what I would have expected, and just to maybe kind of narrow that down into 3 words. They're afraid of stigma.
Stigma is it, yes.
And I just want to link that to like Gordon's talk about the importance of this project, because one, there are ways to combat stigma, of course, and but one of them is the development of effective treatment for the condition. And then when there is effective treatment for a condition, people are more willing to disclose so that they can get that treatment. And then after the treatment is effective, their behavior is more normalized, and they get less stigma from society. And so I think there are historical examples of that in epilepsy, for example, therapists in the past before there were effective treatments to control seizures. And it's much less now. It's not zero, but it's much less now. I think even the effectiveness now as well.
Yeah, and yeah.
Thanks very much. Brendan, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Brandon Second from Brendan. Great presentation and great work you've done. Curious about you're going to be referring in folks to hopefully the AMP SCZ as an endpoint for the new trial that you're working on, the new strategy that's exciting. Do you think, how do you foresee the shift from referring to care to referring to research affecting the uptake of the actual outcome being an actually convert the actual participation in this case research? When I was doing my master's program research UCSF, learned that one of the primary motivating factors for them to engage versus algorithms, wanting other people living with similar conditions, that they exceeded their own well-being. In some cases, so that could change here, or how do you see the change in the outcome, the change in the conversion target affecting the number of
so one of the ways that the way that we are addressing that in the proposal is that AMP Schizophrenia, we are conceptualizing as our local clinical partners. In fact, we've had conversations with many of the folks in the room And we would refer folks to their programs where they would offer opportunities to participate in research, but also opportunities to get clinical care, either at that site specifically or with a local clinical partner. And we will get some, the goal will be to get signed releases of information so that we can all happily share clinical information with each other.
Really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In the back of the room, please.
Thank you. Great, methods, very interesting. I was wondering, related to the question that's not asked. Is it possible to do kind of that distinction between those who also have familial psychosis or other psychiatric disorders and those who don't? But if you do, so if you capture that, would it engage them in further maybe intervention or discussion to be a way to provide the family some additional clinical?
Yeah, I love that question. I don't have data on family history, unfortunately. And the way that we need to, I mean, I think we need to develop tailored advancement strategies, and some of those are going to be related to how you communicate with your family, how to get the family involved, and what someone's contextual background, how that impacts their decision to advance. So I think that's going to be an important next step. But at this point, I don't have data on that just yet.
Thank you.
All right, please go ahead.
Thank you, Martin, for very talk. You probably thought about this, but sort of give out the answer of this. Don't forget Jones, many years ago, talking about what we're doing is looking for needles in the haystack.
Yeah.
And so his analogy was, let's find sharp objects and then look amongst the sharp objects with the needles. So we thought about a two-stage approach. I mean, it might be a little sharp objects, but we thought about so I'm not sure that we're going to directly with the people and the issue of the program questionnaire directly you're going to get a lot of false and then the other information. So I'm sure you thought about that sort of problem.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big challenge in this particular NIMH funded, the R34, for example, we opened up a floodgate and we ended up engaging with a ton of folks that, of course, do not have psychosis. I think it's about finding that right balance and also leveraging automated digital technology to allow us to serve some of the individuals who maybe are less eligible, less appropriate with resources and focus on the ones who need us most. But that's going to be a learning curve in figuring out exactly how to help people who need help, but also focus on the area of interest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Birnbaum, for a very inspiring and innovative talk. Thank you very much.